Okay, welcome to episode 2 of the adventure game programming in C#, Python and Lua. So this episode is going to show you all the software that we require for doing it. If you've already got everything, then obviously you can skip across this video and go to the next one, but I'll go through everything that's required. So first of all, for Python, always get the latest if you can. Get it from www.python.org. I'll put all the links that you see up here in the video description down below. So on the main Python page here, you'll see the various releases, and assuming that you're working on Windows, then you've got this bunch here, and I would suggest that you use the executable installer, this one, for 64-bit Windows. So if you click on that, you'll get the usual save thing. I've already done that, of course, so I will come back to that later. Now then, what I'll do is I'm going to show you where to download all of these first, and then we'll come to the installation. So we'll skip across now to the IDE that you want to use for your Python programming. I've tried a lot of them. The one that comes with it, Idle, is absolute rubbish. There are a number of different ones, but I found this one from wingware.com to be one of the best. It's easy to use, and better than that, it puts everything, you're working with a project, so you've got lots of files that appear at once. So again, go to the Windows installer, 30-bit, 32 and 64-bit, hit the button. You'll then get this change of form, but with your save file again. I've already done it, so I will cancel that. We'll go back. So that will be a Python IDE that we want you to use later. Now, next one is Lua. Now, the Lua binaries are updated fairly regularly. This version here on this GitHub one doesn't have the latest of Lua, but it does have a Windows installable package, which means that the path environment variable is already put in when you run the installer. So I would suggest you use this one because it works absolutely fine. Again, if you download the executable, you get the thing coming up. I've already done that, so I won't bother. Now, to run Lua, again, an IDE which I've found, there's not that many of them, but ZeroBrain seems to be one of the best. It is free, but they do ask for a contribution, and I think it's nice if you can, after you've used it for a little while, just give them a donation, just to show your appreciation. But for the time being, you can download it free. Again, you've got the 32-bit Windows installer, so we'll cancel that. The reason for having both, ZeroBrain has its own built-in Lua, which is actually more up to date than the Lua for Windows. But the reason for doing that is that we want the Lua executable to be part of the path environment variable. If you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry, I'll show you at the end. So that's the next one. Now, for general text editing, you may have your favorite already, such as Atom, or there's many of them, but Notepad++ is fast, it's lightweight, it's really good, and you can actually run both Python, Lua, and even C# scripts directly from it with some alteration to its setup. But again, I won't go into that at this stage, but Notepad++, I would recommend that you choose and go for that one. Now, finally, we need something for C#. Now, the obvious one to do is Visual Studio, which you would get from here, direct from Microsoft. Go for, let me show you the, oops, wrong one here, that's the, so Visual Studio here. So you want the full Visual Studio 2019 rather than Visual Studio Code. It's free for the Community Edition, but you do need a Microsoft account, and you do need to sign into that account every time you use it. beware, you will be downloading at least 3 gigabytes of data, so it's a big download that may affect you depending on your internet speed. And once you've downloaded it takes quite a while to install, and every time you run it, it takes quite a while to fire up, even on a powerful computer. So as a alternative to that, I recommend this one called Sharpdevelop. Now, Sharpdevelop is no longer under active development, though it has been taken over because it's become open source, and you can get this latest one, which is May 2019, and this is a zip file, which again, you can just download the zip file. Again, I'll come back to the installation on that shortly. The Sharpdevelop may require you to have this one, which is the one I accidentally clicked on a moment ago, which is the Microsoft Visual C# redistributable package, in order to run Sharpdevelop. So if you download Sharpdevelop and it doesn't run, then you will need to go here to get this Visual C++ 2008, which kind of shows you how old Sharpdevelop is. So that's all the links. They'll all be down in the video description. So we'll get this out of the way. So we'll start with installing Python. So I've got the downloads folder up here ready to go, and we'll start with the Python executable that I showed you on the first part of the video here. Now, do not just hit the install now, because it will try and put it in the app data, which is not the best place for home use, and certainly won't work at school. So if you're looking at this video to help you to install this software for students, do not hit install now. First thing to do is to hit add Python 3.8 to the path. It also says install the launcher for all users recommended. That's perhaps not particularly relevant, because we're going to customize the installation. So we hit customize. Documentation, yes. Pip, definitely. TCL, TK and idle is what most schools would use to run Python. You can use it yourself. I don't like idle, it's absolutely horrible, but there's no harm in putting it in. So pretty much tick all this box. Next. This is the important bit. If once you hit install for all users, you'll see it now goes into a more sensible place, which is in program files. The other important thing is to make sure that you've got add Python to environment variables here. That's got to be ticked. These two don't matter too much, so tick the first lot, make sure it's in a sensible place, and then hit install, and that will do the job. So I'll cancel that, because obviously I've already done that. Now the next one is to get, for your Python, you want to use the IDE, which I've chosen here, which is Wing Personal, currently at 7.2.2.0. If I fire that up, the launcher will appear on my other screen, so we'll just drag that in. Hit next, accept, next, and again it'll install it in a sensible place, which is in program files. So yeah, that's okay. Hit next, whether this is at home or if you're setting up for a school. That will work perfectly. So again, I will cancel that. So that's Python over and done with. We've got the Python files, and we've got the IDE to run them. We'll move on to Lua next. This is Lua for Windows, so we'll fire that up. Again, the install will appear on the other screen. We'll get that in the way. Get that out of the way there. So accept agreement, next. Again, it goes into a perfectly sensible place here, and that will put Lua in. Hit next, everything's okay. The important thing is that we'll also add Lua to the path environment variable, which if you're not sure what I'm talking about, I'll go through that a little later on. So I'll cancel that again. So that does contain an IDE called Scite, S-C-I-T-E, which is okay, but Zero Brain is much better. So that's the one that we're going to install. Again, we'll break that across. it's going into a sensible place, you can just pretty much hit install and carry on with that one. So I'll cancel that. So that's Lua dealt with. ZeroBrain has its own version of Lua, which is actually more up to date, I believe, than this one here, which is a fairly old distribution. But it doesn't, as far as I'm aware, put Lua into the path environment variables, so it's useful to have a separate installation of Lua as well. Now finally, Sharpdevelop. If I double click that, we have an executable, a zipped file here, and inside the folder we've just got 3 other folders. There is no installation on this one, you have to do it yourself. So what we'll do is I'll bring in the program files where I want to put it. So here we are in program files. Now I've already put an earlier version of this, which was 5.1. So what I'm going to do here is to add a new folder, as we've now got, of course I'm in program files, so I need to provide admin of course to allow me to do that. And I'm going to put 5.2 here because that's the version that we're currently running. And then I want to put these 3 folders in to here. Again, it may require use admin privileges. Let's see what that comes up with. There we go. Yes, we need to do this for all current items, admin permission, continue, and it's in. So we can now close the thing there. So what we've got here is we've got program files x86 Sharpdevelop. That's the older version, this is the newer one. And inside the bin file you'll find sharpdevelop.exe. So the easiest way to do that is to simply create a shortcut. So desktop create shortcut. Now that of course is not showing on here because that's on my other screen, so we'll bring that around here, and then that's ready to run. So slightly different process for Sharpdevelop. The one I haven't shown you is the full Visual Studio 2019, which I think is worth doing. Although it's a large distribution, it has a lot of features which are not really available in Sharpdevelop, but this is quick and light and it works. So that's the one I would recommend that you use for this particular series of videos because it boots up fast. You can run this perfectly well from a USB drive, so that you can even take it from computer to computer. You probably won't be able to use that at school because most schools block the running of executables from USB for obvious reasons, but from home use that's perfectly acceptable. So that's pretty much the software that we've installed. Notepad++ is, as I say, it's just a text editor, so I will be using that to demonstrate all the different coding languages while we're doing this series. So I think that's pretty much everything for the moment. So next video we'll actually start doing some programming.